folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I don't know if you can see it too much. I think the camera's picking up. Yeah, it's snowing here. Not much. I mean, it is coming down good, but nothing's sticking, and we may get a little bit, but I don't really think it's nothing to really worry about. Oh, something we haven't talked about in a while that I wanted to bring back to your attention so you don't forget, not like any of you have, but the economy. And how bad is it? I mean, it's bad, I think. And I want to start off by saying that I am no expert, no financial expert. I know enough to only get myself in trouble when it comes to things like the stock market and how the economy functions when it comes to central banks and asset purchasing and bonds and stocks and on and on and on. But I do know a little bit, and I do understand a little bit. And when you look at that side of the economy and you add to it the job loss market, and then you add to it the amount of people that here in the next few weeks are going to be going through foreclosures and getting kicked out of their homes, the amount of businesses that's closed. Of all the things that's going on in 2020, it's like this is that elephant in the room that no one wants to notice, no one wants to talk about. And we've been told over and over again that, well, the economy's making a comeback. It's this curve, and it's bouncing back, and we have a strong economy, and it's going to do good. And folks, you can't shut down an economy and forcibly keep a decent percentage of people from working. It may not be happening where you're at. It's not happening here. In fact, there's a lot of good jobs around here. People ask all the time, are there jobs? There are. And I hear people here in the Ozarks saying, oh, there's no jobs in the Ozarks. That's not true. There's a town about 35, 40 miles from here that has several decent-sized factories that pay decent wages, and they're all have job openings, all of them. They're all hiring. So they're out there, but that's not the case in many places. Many places they have gone through, and some of you listeners have experienced some very strict lockdowns, forced your businesses to close, forced you not to go to work. You can't do that and then expect one day, whenever that day is, whenever the overlord rulers say that it's finally okay for you to open your business again, and expect it to just all go back to normal. It doesn't work that way. People can't not have a job, or have a job that making a lot less money and continually pay their bills or not pay their bills. That's the thing. They're not paying their bills, and then expect one day everything just to be okay. We've lived almost 12 months fully, totally in 2020. It's coming to an end soon. And a lot of people seem to be excited. Finally, 2020 is over. Folks, 2020 may be the last great year that you'll ever remember. And I know that sounds very doomsday. But it's not just my opinion. It's many, many others. And including others that have a lot more knowledge than I do about the goings-on in the world. And they're all in agreement, or many of them are, that 2021 is going to be one rough year. There's some numbers that have come out recently, and I wanted to share with you. Some of them I have little screenshots to put up on the screen, but not everything I do, and I apologize for that. So let's for a minute talk about central banks, the Fed, the mint, the printing of money, the fiat currency that we all have in our pockets, or at least some of us do. Are you aware that in the year 2020, The United States has printed 35% of all the currency that it's ever created in 1 year. 35% of all the currency that's been created since this nation came into existence has been created in 2020. That's correct. Are you aware that the central banks, the Federal Reserve and the central banks, have been purchasing assets at the rate of 1.9 billion every 60 seconds since March? 1.9 billion. They've dropped interest rates. The bond market is just pretty much crazy. I mean, you can make money in it if it's short term, but if you look at the long term and the amount of money that's being dumped in it, it's starting to look kind of scary. When you look at how much money that the Federal Reserve has added to their books, they just, as we all know, they just add money out of nowhere. And the central banks seem to be encouraging the local banks to loan money, because in the end, that's really how money, and I'm using those interchangeably, and I think most of you know the difference. That is really where money is created, is at the local bank level of loaning money. And they're not doing that anymore. They're just not. Interest rates are low. There's all this encouragement. Oh, go out and get a loan and buy a house, because interest rates are just nothing. There's nothing there. There's no interest rates. But the banks aren't loaning it because these local banks, they know. How are people going to pay for these loans when so many people are out of work, when their businesses have been shut down or cut way back? How's that going to happen? I spoke with a guy that I know. It's been maybe 3 weeks ago, and he does loans. And he said, I can't get hardly anyone approved. He said, it's getting to be almost impossible. He said, and we're not talking people that have shady credit, or they're rebuilding their credit, or maybe they don't have the income. He said, I'm talking about people that a couple of years ago, they could have gotten about any loan that they wanted. You know, people that have really good credit, people that have good money in the bank accounts, people that have good income. He said, and I can't get them a loan. He said, because no one's sending out money anymore. No one's lending it, because they're terrified, because they see the handwriting on the wall. And that really, when it comes to an economy, it's how the banks loan. If they stop loaning money, they know something's coming, because they don't want their money getting sent out knowing they're never going to get it back again, because no one can pay for it. And it's not just the banks, it's the people. I have something here to put up. There was a poll done amongst, I think it was a little over 3,000 random people were polled, asking about what their outlook on 2021 is going to be. And almost 40% of them said that they felt like they would probably be living in survival mode. Survival mode. That's probably different than what I'm thinking, survival mode, because for me, it's going out here with basically nothing and surviving. But almost 40% of Americans feel that they're going to be living in survival mode. There's now been 160,000 businesses that's closed due to the health crisis. And they estimate that at least 100,000 of those businesses will most likely never open again. 20 to 40 million potential people are going to be evicted from their homes over the next 3 months, because no one's been paying their rent and their mortgages because of the moratorium on it, which ends the end of this month. Of course, there's been talk about stimulus. They've been talking about stimulus money, more stimulus money for months. Of course, this time there's threats, or there's hints, let's put it that way, that the stimulus money will come at and they'll attach a requirement to get your VAX We'll see if that happens. But here's the deal. This country has spent trillions of dollars in debt. Most of us are familiar with the $1,200 stimulus money that came out several months ago, and we think of that as the stimulus. But most people aren't aware of the trillions of dollars that's been dumped into the market in other ways than those $1,200 checks that was sent to a bunch of people. Folks, I was trying to explain this to my children the other night, the older ones. You cannot continue spending money at the rate that we are and never paying it. I told them, I said, let's say we run out of money. Let's say we have no income here. We lose our jobs, we have no income. And so we have no way to pay our bills, right? And so the way that we pay our bills is we go get ourselves a bunch of credit cards and we start charging all of our bills around here on credit card. And then we don't pay those credit card bills because, well, we have no income coming in. I asked the kids, how long do you think that we're going to be able to, keep that up? And they all said, not very long. I said, that's exactly right. And that's what's happening right now. We're just taking out credit cards, paying the bills. The federal government is, the local governments are, and the individuals. The amount of people this year that have been paying their bills on credit cards is astronomical. This is all going to start catching up soon. Gerald Clement, I believe that's who it was, and he's a fairly big name in economic study, and I believe it was him the other day that I was reading that said that he felt that the housing market would probably collapse sometime between now and May. I've seen numerous other financial experts say that the different parts of the economy will most likely be collapsing over the next 3 to 6 months. It cannot hold this momentum of no money coming in and a lot of debt building up. People cannot continue to be kicked out of their homes, or to be not kicked out of their homes because that's happening soon, but people cannot be told they can't go to work, their business is shut down, and expect that that's going to be okay. Think about it. Think about how many businesses have been completely shut down. They have no way to earn money. And maybe they're able to get a little job on the side or something, but most likely they're not making the money that they once was. And they still have all this debt, and they're probably accruing more debt. Folks, the point of today's video is to once again let you know, if you haven't figured it out already, that the economy is looking awful. It's looking probably worse than it's ever looked before. Most likely worse than back in the 1920s. Is it the thing that's going to break and cause every other system to come crashing down, or will some of these other systems start crashing and cause the economy? I don't know. I don't know which is going to happen first, but I can tell you this. The odds of over the next 6 to 12 months, and most likely a lot sooner than that, of this economy crashing to a halt is pretty good right now. Now, of course, the Fed, the U.S. government, they're going to both try to bail out everything they can before that happens. They're going to say, well, it's too valuable to fall, so we've just got to keep printing money and printing money and printing money. And there's this theory amongst people like that when you control the money system, that you can just print, and that there is no cap, there is no limit. In fact, the Fed chairman himself a few months ago said that in an interview. He said, no, there is no limit to what we will continue to spit out. There is no limit. We can print, we can make as much money as we want. We control it, right? It doesn't work that way, folks. That's not how the economy works. You can't keep spitting paper out with nothing coming in and expect that people will just be okay. You can't keep bailing out the big businesses. You can't keep, propping up major corporations and allowing all the small businesses to collapse. We're talking a number I saw the other day, somewhere in the neighborhood of 48 to 50% of all small businesses in America are on the verge of collapsing and never coming back again. 50%, folks. Do you understand how much of our economy is made up of the small businesses? Most people think our economy is based on all the big companies, right? You know, Disney and Walmart and Boeing and Amazon and all these, you know, BP Oil, all these big companies. That's what makes up our economy, and that's actually not true. The majority of our economy is made up of small businesses. And we're looking at around 50% of those small businesses over the coming weeks and months of collapsing and no longer existing, on top of the ones that's already been have collapsed. So folks, my phone keeps having a screen pop up. Sorry about that. You've got to get yourselves ready. I say it all the time. I say it all the time. I feel like I'm beating a drum, and I wonder how many people are listening, and I know many of you are. Among all the things that's going on that's crazy, and I don't have to list them, you all know what I'm talking about. You've got to brace yourselves for this tidal wave of when the economy crashes. It's going to be like a big landmass falling off in the ocean, and it's going to create a tsunami, and it's going to cover a lot of people. It's going to drown a lot of people. It's going to crash a lot of things, and it's going to create a lot of havoc. There's already a lot of chaos in the streets. If you haven't been seeing what's going on in D.C. the last few nights, it's different than it was a few months ago. The level of violence and how it's going on, it's different. This kind of stuff is only going to get worse, especially when people start losing their jobs in larger mass, especially when their bank accounts don't work anymore and their money doesn't buy anything anymore because the economy is completely crashed. We are headed for a dark winter, and there's some dark days coming for this country, I'm afraid. I wish I could be more optimistic. I wish I could tell you that it's only a slight odds. I wish I could get on here like I did months ago or a year ago and say, well, you know, someday these things might happen, but there's a good odds that, you know, things will be nice, but it doesn't hurt to be a little bit prepared. Unfortunately, folks, I can't in good conscience say that anymore. Good times aren't ahead of us, they're behind us. And we've got some rough road ahead of us, and we've got to get prepared. Eventually, will things smooth out? Eventually, will things get better? I hope and pray they do. But every bit of me right now is saying that we've got to get ready because it doesn't look good ahead of us. So I hope that's what you're doing. I hope you're taking every possible opportunity to get your home, your family, and everything in your control as prepared as possible. Because I don't think the good days are ahead of us for a while. All right, folks. Thank you for taking time to watch, and I'll catch you in the next video.